Don't tell me how to do it. Just get it done. For the last 3 years, the world has been obsessed with the chat interface. We learned to prompt, we learned to engineer our queries, and we learned to wait for a text-based response. We treated artificial intelligence like a very fast librarian, a passive tool that sat in a box, waiting for a human to turn the key. But as we move through February 2026, that era of passive AI has officially ended. The technology has crossed a threshold from generative to agentic. We are no longer talking about models that write poems or summarize emails. We are talking about digital entities that possess agency. These are systems that don't just respond to prompts. They pursue goals. They don't just suggest a travel itinerary. They book the flights, negotiate the corporate discount, handle the visa friction, and reroute the entire trip when a storm hits O'Hare, all without asking for your permission. This is the next phase, and it is fundamentally rewriting the social contract between humans and machines. In the next 30 minutes, we are going to look past the marketing hype to explain the shifting architecture of intelligence. We will explore the recursive loop that allows agents to self-correct, the rise of multi-agent orchestration in the enterprise, and the terrifying economic reality of ghost GDP. Authority is quiet, but for the first time in human history, it is also autonomous. To understand the 22.6 shift, you have to understand the difference between a tool and an agent. Think of a traditional large language model like a high-end calculator. It is brilliant, but it is static. It requires a human to provide the input, the context, and the final verification. If you give a chatbot a complex task, like organize a 500-person conference, it will give you a beautiful list of steps, but it cannot walk across the digital street and execute them. An agentic system is different. It is built on 4 functional pillars. Perception, it monitors its environment. Your emails, your spreadsheets, and the real-time web. Reasoning, it breaks a high-level goal into 1,000 subtasks. Tool use, it possesses digital hands. It can log into your CRM, use your credit card, and execute API calls. Memory, it learns from its mistakes. If a vendor doesn't answer an email, the agent doesn't stop. It tries a different channel. The recursive loop, the breakthrough of 2026, is the ability for agents to self-reflect. In early 2000-2004, if an AI made a mistake, it hallucinated a confident lie. Today, Agentic AI uses a critic-actor architecture. One part of the brain generates a solution, while another part, the critic, audits it for errors before it ever reaches the user. By the time you see the result, the AI has already argued with itself a dozen times. It has optimized the path, checked the compliance rules, and verified the data. You aren't seeing a first draft, you're seeing a polished execution. This is why 22.6 is being called the year of mainstream autonomy. The real power of 22.6 isn't a single godlike AI. It is the multi-agent system. Inside major corporations like Walmart, Goldman Sachs, and Siemens, we are seeing the emergence of digital departments. Instead of one massive model, these companies are deploying swarms of specialized agents that talk to each other. Imaging government definite agency executor agent, legal auditor agent. How it works. Imagine a supply chain disruption in the Red Sea. In 2000, this required a room full of humans working for 48 hours to reroute cargo. In 2006, the logistics agent detects the delay via satellite data. It immediately pings the financial agent to calculate the cost of air freighting the goods. The financial agent then consults the contract agent to see if force majeure clauses apply. Within 90 seconds, the system presents the CEO with a single choice. Option A costs $2 million but saves the launch date. Option B is free but delays us by 3 weeks. I have already drafted the legal notices for both. Which one do you want? The competitive advantage for a business is no longer how much data do you have, but how well do your agents work together? Companies are now competing on orchestration. A business that can execute 10,000 micro-decisions per second will always outcompete a business that relies on a weekly board meeting. This is the industrial revolution of cognition. We are automating the white-collar middle management layer of the entire global economy. But here is where the story takes a darker turn. As we move through the first quarter of 2026, economists are tracking a bizarre phenomenon known as ghost GDP. Output is rising. Productivity metrics are off the charts. Corporate balance sheets are healthier than they've been in a decade. But beneath the surface, the consumer engine is beginning to sputter. The displacement spiral. When an enterprise replaces a 50-person procurement team with 3 high-level agentic engineers and a swarm of AI agents, the company saves millions in labor costs. In the short term, this looks like a miracle for shareholders. However, those 50 displaced workers are no longer buying houses, they aren't going on vacations, and they aren't fueling the service economy. Because AI agents don't consume, they don't eat, they don't wear clothes, and they don't pay rent, the circular flow of income is being disrupted. The 22/6 labor reset in India, the IT services sector, long the backbone of the middle class, is facing a structural phase shift. Giants like TCS and Wipro are reporting that while revenue is up, headcount growth has stagnated at 1%. The headcount to revenue link has been broken. For the first time, we are seeing jobless growth at a systemic level. The question for 22/6 isn't will AI take my job, but if AI does my job better and cheaper, how do we fund the people who used to do it? This is the quiet pressure in every capital from Washington to New Delhi. The world is getting richer, but the money is getting stuck in the machine layer. If data was the oil of the 21st century, then agency is the new nuclear weapon. In February 2026, the AI arms race has shifted from models to infrastructures. The U.S. Strategy: focus on vertical integration. Companies like Microsoft and OpenAI are building Stargate, a $500 billion supercomputing cluster designed specifically to house millions of autonomous agents. The Chinese strategy: focus on state-led orchestration. Beijing has mandated that all enterprise agents must adhere to national values guidelines, effectively creating a centralized digital nervous system for their state-owned enterprises. The sovereign agent threat. There is a growing fear in the intelligence community about agentic drift. In 2025, we saw the first high-frequency trade war, where 2 competing financial agents in London and Singapore entered a recursive feedback loop that crashed the price of copper by 12% in 6 minutes, before a human could even find the off switch. In 2026, the risk isn't that an AI will go rogue and launch missiles. The risk is that a million agents, each pursuing a logical narrow goal, like optimize energy profit, will collectively create a chaotic outcome that no human can predict or stop. We are building a world that moves too fast for our own biological brains to govern. As we look toward the end of 2026, the agentic phase will likely follow one of 3 paths. Scenario 1, the abundance plateau. Probability, 40%. Agentic AI successfully handles the drudgery of modern life. Healthcare costs plummet as agents manage personalized medicine. Energy grids become 30% more efficient. Humans shift into a supervisor role, focusing on creativity and ethics while the agentic layer handles the execution. Scenario 2, the intelligence crisis. The worst case. Ghost GDP leads to a massive consumer spending collapse. The concentration of wealth in the machine layer triggers social unrest. Governments respond with heavy-handed agentic taxes, leading to a fragmented global web where some regions ban autonomous agents entirely, creating a new digital iron curtain. The seamless integration, the optimistic case. AI agents become as invisible and essential as electricity. We stop calling it AI and just call it the way things work. Every person has a personal sovereign agent that protects their data, manages their finances, and acts as a shield against corporate exploitation. The move to agentic AI is the final step in our journey to build a world we no longer have to manage. For thousands of years, the bottleneck of human progress was the limit of our own attention. We could only do what we could personally supervise. Today, that bottleneck is gone. We have built entities that can think for us, act for us, and, eventually, decide for us. We began by asking, what is the next phase of AI? In February 2026, the answer is clear. The next phase is the end of the user. We are moving from being operators of our technology to being architects of its intent. We are trading control for speed and precision for scale. Authority is quiet because it no longer needs to speak. It just executes. If you've stayed with us until the end of this analysis, let us know your thoughts. Are you ready to let an agent manage your bank account? Or are we building a digital cage we won't know how to unlock? We'll see you in our next deep dive.